Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm lucky enough to chat with Justin Elizabeth Sayre. Sayre is a fixture of the downtown cabaret scene in New York, first with their long-running monthly show, The Meeting of the International Order of Sodomites, and now with the series of new shows at Joe's Pub. Their 12-part epic camp horror soap opera, Ravenswood Manor, is currently being developed with Sony Television. They have also written for television, working with Michael Patrick King on his hit CBS comedy Two Broke Girls, and most recently on Fox's The Cool Kids, as well as appearing on HBO's The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow. Sayre's latest work, To Build a Soul, will be performed from Thursday, December 2nd through Sunday, December 12th at La Mama Downstairs. Tickets can be purchased at lamama.org. We chat about all of that and much more. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, it's Justin Sayre.
Hey, thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I've managed to find some videos online of some of the meeting performances, which are hilarious and wonderful.
Oh, thanks so much.
And so I was excited to get to talk about To Build a Soul, which,
Yes.
if I'm reading correctly, you are in the middle of performing right now, in the middle of its run right now, or starts.
No.
No, I'm sorry, starts tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes. Okay.
Tomorrow.
Sorry.
Yeah, starts tomorrow, and we run for 2 weekends at La Mama, downstairs at La Mama.
Was this just a show that was eating away at you during the pandemic that you finally are getting to perform? Did this spring out of that isolation, or how did you come to this particular show?
Well, I actually wrote 11 plays over the pandemic. I had a little company, a little collective of actors that we would do a monthly play online, and then emerge with this and another piece of work that's going to debut at the Under the Radar Festival in January. But this was really the work that was most responsive to the pandemic. This was a work that I started sort of contemplating when it really seemed as though we would not be back in the theater anytime soon. And that was highly unacceptable to me, because it seemed like, oh my God, it's been over a year since I've been on a stage, and that's been the longest stretch since I can remember. So this was kind of written in response to the worry of not returning, and if I had the chance, what would that return look like? So out of all the works that I wrote over the pandemic, this is really the most responsive to what happened.
When it comes to finding how to express creativity when you're young, or when you're first kind of discovering that you want a creative outlet or need a creative outlet, if you want total isolation, you can go write a novel. You can do that for years. Someone will find it in your desk drawer years after you're gone, and you never have to deal with anyone else. And kind of through a sliding scale of more and more collaborative types of creative expression. Do you remember kind of when you got bit by the bug of both writing and that interactivity of live performance, that kind of conversation with the audience?
Well, live performance was always kind of part of the deal since I was a very young child. And kind of tracing what happens in this show and what we talk about in this show kind of drew me back to, oh wow, there was more live performance there still, I think the writing element, I always wrote because I grew up with a lot of great storytellers, coming from a big Irish family. So storytelling and the power of words, performative words, were always really important. So started writing stories, I think, when I was in third or fourth grade, and then had a column in high school and started writing plays. I didn't really consider myself a writer until much later.
I always find that that's a big moment for a lot of writers. When you start calling yourself that, or when you feel like you can say that without needing to flee the room, uh,
Oh, sure.
can be a big change. Did you feel like did that change your output or the way you approached your work, or do you feel like that affected the tone of your writing to when you kind of hit that moment of taking it maybe seriously inside you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I said writer kind of early. I think playwright took me a little longer because playwright has such a kind of loaded meaning. That's a craftsman and all that stuff. And when I finally did start using that, it just personally, it's like coming out. You don't think it's a big deal, and then it is. And using the word playwright really kind of just let me know, like, oh, I think I kind of know a little of what I'm doing. I maybe not have all the answers. I may not always be right, but I can start something and finish it to the place where I finally get it, where it looks like what I thought it would be. And that's quite exciting.
Did you find early on that there were particular characters or themes that you just kept finding yourself drawn to?
Yeah, I think I always kind of write about intergenerational relationships. I'm always writing from certainly a queer viewpoint. I think it's very strange because I wrote comedy for a while, forever really, and it's always the things that come easiest to you that you take for granted, So I sat around and thought, oh, I have to write serious dramas, forgetting that there's laughs and long day's journey into night, So I find that there's comedic touches in everything I touch.
Yeah, that kind of zone of genius phenomenon of not feeling like you're any good at it because it doesn't feel like a strain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how much you can talk about Ravenswood Manor, but
Sure.
If I'm remembering my research right, that was optioned last year. Now that was a series of live performances. Is that correct?
Yes. So
that format of theater is a new idea to me. The kind of serialized theater, I think, is a super neat idea. Was that new to do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of it was a bet by the theater if it would actually work. Could people kind of drop in or not drop in? Could they pick up in the middle and still know what was happening? Could they, experience the show week to week and keep coming back? And what we found really wonderfully was, we as the actors, because it was a small company of about 7 core people, and then we added kind of a different guest star every week. We were constantly on our toes because we were, learning a new script every week for 6 weeks. But the audiences really caught on. And even if you stopped in for 1 week, even if you came for the entire run, which we ended up having a lot of people come back, it kind of became their Friday night thing to do for a few weeks. They all had a good time. And by the end, we had our little groupies dressing up as characters and, but it was this kind of remarkable little phenomenon. And I think, should we ever get to do it live again, I know it's being optioned and we're working hard on it, but, I would definitely look at trying to do something serialized again because I think it was an absolute joy.
Yeah, something I've been really enamored with this past year is some of the really creative ways that folks have been kind of forced to find different ways to interact with their audiences. But I love things like that create a slight change to this experience it's really old. Going to the theater has its trappings that we all expect from it, and this makes a different community. By the 4th week, I suspect that the people who were there each week would see each other, and it would be like standing around the water cooler talking about Lost or something. Oh my gosh!
Oh, absolutely. No, and it does build like a little community quickly. And what's exciting about that, and I think what could be done with something like that, is you get these kind of diehard people that want to see it, and that creates a buzz that's completely different than what you could get through a PR place. People talking about it and dressing up and showing up week after week and telling their friends how devoted they are to something. That kind of excitement you can't bottle, and it was really fortunate for us in Ravenswood, certainly.
When it comes to getting to write and be that close to the cast and the acting and the performance of it, kind of all together in theater, was it a difficult transition or just different to work in a writer's room on something like Two Broke Girls?
Well, working in a writer's room is, I have a very different kind of mindset working in a writer's room. Ultimately, unless you created the show is not yours. Mm-hmm. You're there to assist. It doesn't mean you can't have ideas and bring ideas and have thoughts and feelings and cares about the characters. It's not a lack of ownership, but there's a lack of individual ownership. You're working for a collective. You're trying to make sure every show is the best show it can be. When you're writing solo, you're much more in the driver's seat, but you're much more on the chopping block. So there's benefits to each and everything, but I think writing, I somewhat prefer writing solo because I have a chance to kind of continually challenge myself to do better. And I think a writer room experience is different,
Yeah.
But wonderful. I love being in a writer's room.
Now, when it comes to writing something and then picking a collaborator to be the director on it or to work in it, I know you've worked with Dusty Shoulders before.
Yeah.
Is there was there something about that working relationship that you identified early on of like, you get it, you direct my stuff?
Yeah. I'm very brand loyal, so there's about 3 or 4 directors that I work with all the time because I love not being the smartest person in the room. I love it. I think it's always great when you have people with really different perspectives, really different aesthetics, who bring things to the place and challenge you and make you better. So I try to work with people who have a different perspective than I do, but understand my aesthetic and what I'm trying to do very well. And that's certainly Dusty. We're great friends, and his eye for detail and his just natural storytelling ability are things that I've loved for as long as I can remember. And it's true with other directors. I work with Tom Detrinis quite a bit. I work with Ellie Heyman quite a bit, and in both cases, it's brilliant people who see and do things that I need an extra pair of eyes for, and I'm always challenged and delighted by the things they come up with.
I find even just in my personal relationships, you get that comfort of not having to re-explain yourself or your humor or your, over and over again. But also I think, we surround ourselves with friends who surprise us sometimes. And that's really a joy. I think this past year we all got to see what just being left with our own thoughts would be like for a long period of time.
I don't know that a lot of people that it went well for.
I think we all started to really see who. God, I think everybody got weird.
Oh no, I wrote a lot, but it went Grey Gardens at my house. So trouble. There was trouble around.
Thank you so much for talking to me about it all. Of course, we'll have a link in the description for tickets to go see To Build a Soul, which will be running when the interview's up. And
wonderful.
I can't thank you enough. Absolute joy to get to chat with you today.
Absolutely. So nice to talk to you.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.